Hello, everyone. Hope everyone's doing well today. Man, I have been. I'm doing okay. I have been. I don't know why I obsess about these things, but I've been thinking about how to better organize the stuff over there, all my HDMI switch stuff. Uh, I I guess in a I know this doesn't have anything to do with the PS2 Slim, the Retro Gem install, but I struggle. Struggle is the wrong word. Um, Part of uh, how do I phrase this? I think that it's important to have good uh, like when I want to stream or when I want to make a video, I want as little difficulty as possible in doing that, right? As little like setup that I've got to do, manual stuff that I've got to do before that. And I got into science now. I know you guys, if you've been watching for a while, you know that sometimes I have to fiddle with I have two little USB, they're back here somewhere, USB capture things. One's a cam link, one's a knockoff cam link. But every time I open OBS, every time I want to go to stream, I have to double check that both my mirrorless camera and the microscope, the cameras are working. So usually I have to turn them on and then unplug the HDMI cable for whatever reason, unplug it and then plug it back in again, and then it'll be fine. I don't know why. Well, I kind of know why. I think it's just because there's a limitation of it's using a USB 3 hub, powered hub. So there's an outlet over here that powers this hub, and then I have a 20-foot active USB 3 cable that goes along here at the back of my computer, and it's just a normal USB 3 cable. I think it's not anything fancy. So it must, I don't know, there's something with the stability of that. So I was kind of thinking of how could I make it better? And I know that I know they're really expensive, but if you've watched Linus Tech Tips at all, you know that he has a fiber optic Thunderbolt cable, and he uses these really expensive Thunderbolt docks, and his computer really is in his basement. And so he just runs these fiber optic Thunderbolt cables to a dock in whatever room he wants his computer, and then he has all the inputs that he needs. He has the display output, and then he has keyboard and mouse inputs and whatever other USB inputs he could want. So I was thinking about something like that, even though obviously not anything as expensive. I know Linus has a crazy expensive setup for his fiber for his computers, but the problem is my computer doesn't have any Thunderbolt. So I have a Ryzen 5900X, which is not old really. It's not that old anyways, a couple years now. But the problem is the motherboard doesn't have any Thunderbolt options. It does have a USB 3.2 version 2, not 2x2, but 3.2. I think it's called version 2, which there's some specific capability for that if you buy a dock that is compatible with that. But the problem is, Thunderbolt docks are a lot more prevalent because usually it's for laptops. If you have a MacBook or something, usually, or a newer Windows laptop, usually you have Thunderbolt connections on there. So that's why Thunderbolt docks are super popular. They're still kind of expensive, a couple $100, but I don't know. So I do have that USB 3.2 version 2, whatever it is, connector. So really, I think that's for a case. If you have a case that has that specific connector, you can plug it. It's like a header on the motherboard. But they make pretty cheap. I mean, we're like $15. They make a little bracket that you can connect that. You get one USB-C port. I have USB-C ports on the back, but I don't think it's the highest capability of the motherboard. I think only that connector can support the highest output or whatever, or the highest version of the best version for this whole motherboard. It's not 10 gigabit or whatever it is. Hey, Belmont. So anyways, I was thinking, okay, I could get this bracket connected to that header, try to get a 20-foot even if I have to get a fiber optic USB cable or something, get a fiber optic cable, but then I need to buy a dock, put the dock over there, and then I would have the ability. That would be kind of nice because I could actually connect this computer's, like a monitor from this computer to my OLED, and then like keyboard and mouse from there. So basically I could use my entire computer from that side of my room, in addition to being able to plug in the USB capture things. I don't know if it's worth that amount of money. So the other alternative the cheaper alternative, I think that setup would probably still be hundreds of dollars. Because the dock itself, a decent dock is still, 150 or above. They make USB, not Thunderbolt docks. I know some of you may not care, but I've just been thinking about it. So I think the cheap slash, not I don't think ghetto is the wrong word, but like the cheap but terrible solution is to just get more 25-foot HDMI cables. But the problem I'm having now is I have a pretty big, it's really a big mess, but I have this, I think it's probably like 13 or 14 outlets, power outlets, like a splitter. It's a decent Anchor one. And it has a bunch of ports, but I'm literally, with all my switching gear, all my stuff, so I have my Extron, I have the RetroTink 4K, which is actually plugged into a USB. That thing has a couple of USB power things. I have the RetroTink 4K. I have 2 HDMI splitters. So what those are going into is both my camera and the microscope camera. So those splitters allow me to both view either of those cameras from the TV, but also they go into they split, the other end goes into those little capture cards. So they split, one goes into my TV and one goes into the capture card. And I've got 2 of those. And I have a third matrix, HDMI matrix, 4 input, 2 output matrix, that everything, so the RetroTink goes into that and those 2 cameras go into that. And so one of those outputs for that matrix goes into the TV. Even it's not a 2.1 switch, so I can't really use that to plug anything. I have my PS5. I could plug my PS5 directly into the TV, but I would like an HDMI 2.1 switch. But the other end, so the one output from that matrix goes to the TV. The other one goes to, that's the big one that goes that's the 25-foot one that goes all the way to the AverMedia Live Gamer 4K. So I've got all this switching gear that's taking up all these ports in this thing. I'm literally down to a single port. So every time I have a stream or something, I have to unplug the last thing that I was working on. So if it was like a retro computer, I had to unplug that. Then like, so I have the PS2 Slim out in the thing. I had to like make sure I had enough ports, a port to plug in the PS2 Slim power adapter. It's just a nightmare, and I kind of don't. I don't know what to do, right? And I know people, if you were on Twitter, people have been complaining about I guess I'm kind of looking for an alternative because I don't really like the Extron. I mean, it's fine if you don't mind how big it is, first of all. Second of all, the cable connections are in the back. Well, which is also not bad, but I think it would be nicer if they were up. But I don't know. It's just as long as it was a little more compact, I think it would be fine. Because right now, that thing is a pain in the ass to manage. If I have to unplug a cable or something, or if there's a problem with one of them, like it's unplugged a little bit, I have to turn that whole thing around, and it's in a really inconvenient spot up on this rack. So I don't really like that Extron. I'm kind of thinking I'm just going to get rid of it, and anytime I want it, not get rid of it, like sell it, but just get it out of that setup. Like if I move to another, I'm thinking between the next, hopefully, within the next 5 years, we might try to get a better house than this. So I would like to have a nice basement lab kind of setup with 2 tables. So the other thing that's annoying, well, hold on, let me finish my thought about the HDMI. So I need a more compact HDMI splitting setup. And I think I could replace all the splitters and the matrix switch with a single matrix switch, a 4x4 matrix switch. That would get rid of 2 additional power connectors. Then I would like to probably replace the and I say this like matter of fact, but like I just mean like if I found some money, because right now I need a new boiler for my house, so I can't really do that. You want to get an Extron? Well, do you want one of my Extrons? You can just you could buy it for shipping plus $50 or something, because I have two, and I don't use one of them. So, well, I'm soon to not use either of them, but I wanted to. This one is the better of the two. It's fine. They're both push button. It's just this one has, I don't know, some other capability that I never use. Anyway, so I want to replace the switches with a single switch, a single matrix. That would allow me to plug in all the cameras, and then I want to get 25-foot Ethernet, 25-foot HDMI cables that make a home run all the way to my computer. And I actually might run another HDMI cable from my computer so that I can plug it into the TV. And then I could use a keyboard and mouse over here to actually use this TV, or use the computer from the TV. So then at least I'd be able to like manage comments, and I'm hoping I can get a Stream Deck. Right now, for some reason, this Stream Deck doesn't like being plugged in over in that switch, the USB switch. It says low power, and it just freaks out. So I think a dock would solve that problem, but I don't know. I think it's just the fact that I have two other things plugged in that are powered. Anyways, yeah, let me know, Belmont, because I have one that's just sitting in the box in my basement that I don't use it at all. So I can give you the specs, and it's a 8 by 8 input, 8 output, I think, or maybe 8 by I don't know. I'll let you know what the specs are, which one it is. Anyways, so that's like I don't know. I'm just thinking of how to organize this shelf because it's really annoying. The other thing is to like an ideal streaming setup for me in a bigger house, obviously, or like in a basement. Right now, my basement, I have a basement, but it's technically it's unfinished, but the previous owner finished it with this like terrible fake. It's like that 70s paneling, that like vertical brown paneling kind of whatever. It's got these darker stripes in it, but it's particle board, and it like kind of is falling apart. But also there's some outlets that go around this part of the finished part, I guess I should say, and some of the wires, like I have I maybe I shouldn't say this on stream, but I do a little bit of electrical, a tiny bit of my own electrical in certain spots. If I know I can do it, I feel confident. But I have a tester that lets me know if an outlet is wired correctly, and some of the outlets do not have ground. All the wiring in my basement, from like the original wiring of the house, does not have ground wire in the wire, but it's metal sheathed cable. So you can, if you bond it correctly to the box, you can ground it that way. But the problem is that, if they're not bonded to those boxes, the metal boxes correctly, then you don't get ground. So I have to like redo all that, and so I don't really feel like doing that in order for me to feel confident having all this money's worth of stuff plugged in my basement now. So I kind of like, I'm putting it off. So an ideal setup for me would be to have, and if you haven't noticed, this microscope is taking over my life. It literally like takes over half of my desk. I bought some nice new speakers. So like in the future, I would like to have a cool, maybe not a separate desk, but like a little mini like living room kind of setup with these bookshelf speakers and my OLED kind of, so I can actually play games when shocker, playing games. But unfortunately, like this overhead camera rig and the microscope, it just takes up so much room, but I need that stuff to actually do the soldering. So if an ideal setup for me would actually be 2 desks next to each other, or whatever, side by side, or elbow, or whatever. One just strictly for soldering and capturing soldering, and the other one for testing and a computer setup. So mine does too. I don't know. What do you mean, RN? So I don't know. This is a super first world problem, obviously, but it wears me down. I don't know why. I never mentioned like what would I replace an Extron with. I know that some people on Twitter have been complaining that the what are those called? The G comps, the latest versions of the G comps are kind of terrible. They have micro USB connectors that are pretty easy to break, and a couple people have complained about them. And those are $300. My setup is your dream. Yeah. It's nice. Like, I don't get me wrong. I have a lot of nice. I tend to get nice stuff. Like, I like to do that, or at least stuff that I imagine is going to last me a long time. So that's why I have no problem. And I got these speakers on super sale. Like, I have been looking for other speakers over there because I had these other speakers that they were just not very good. And I was kind of looking on Slick Deals. If you guys don't know about Slick Deals, it's a pretty cool site. I'm not sponsored or anything, but it can show you deals on just anything on the internet, basically, that you want to search for. So I was searching for speakers, and there are these Klipsch. These are Klipsch RP600M, the first version, because it's a Mark II now. These are normally, the MSRP when these first came out was something like $700, but normally they retail around like $350, $400. And they were $275 or something. So I'm like, okay, fine. So I already had an amp, so I kind of was using it. Microscope taking up half the space. Oh, I know. So some people have, instead of the stand, like, I really do like the stand. It's very solid, and I appreciate that it isn't on a boom arm because I can shake the table, and it barely moves. I mean, it moves a little bit, but it moves with the table. So it does, I think, produce a better output because it doesn't shake with the table that much. Some people put them on boom arms, and I feel like that would shake more, but I don't know. I'm also on a sit-standing desk, even though this is a nice sit-standing desk. It is up high, and it does have some wobbliness. So I would just like an entire, like, 2 separate tables just to organize all this stuff. Oh, it's the SMD micro USB too. Yeah, so that thing like just flicks off or whatever. So it's unfortunate that's a $300 thing. That's a broad moment. So anyways, there's what is it called? The Games something? Games Corp or something? Something like that. Gamescom, maybe? Component switch. Bob, Games Care. Somebody mentioned that Bob had reviewed this a while ago. And it's 100, if you get all of the dongles, like it's a component switch that uses I can't even make this bigger, really. See, I don't like websites where you can't. Oh, here we go. Okay, I figured it out. I'm dumb. The Games Care, it's a 6 input, 2 output component switch, automatic, and there's literally no configuration. You can't manually override it. So, that could be annoying. However, it just automatically switches to whatever the newest switch or the newest turned on thing is. So it's kind of a no frills, like you can't really adjust it while it's running, but it's strictly component, and it has a barrel jack. But the other semi downside that I see, which is, it can be considered a downside to some people, but it also is an upside because it's very compact, is it uses TRRS connectors. Uses like the 3.5 millimeter, but with varying numbers of rings. One plug. So for every input and output, you have 2 of these adapters. One for the video and one for the audio. So to get a fully kitted out one is $180, which is that's still $100 cheaper than a G-Comp, and you can get them right now. They're in stock at least at this moment. So I'm considering this instead of a G-Comp because it's smaller. I can manage the cables from the outside. However, I don't really need to buy anything right now. I could just get rid of the Extron, or like take it out of my setup so I have an extra free power plug, and just plug the component cables directly into the RetroTank whenever I need them, because I don't change them out that often. And I end up doing that stuff with HDMI cables all the time anyways, so it's really annoying. Who's using component? I'm using component. Well, yeah, I think that a lot of newer people. So I started following Bob. I found Bob probably like 2016, and I started modding like end of 2016, 2017, and I was all SCART stuff. So I have a G-SCART, actually an older one. G-SCART Lite is the one I have, which has a barrel jack. So I'm kind of lucky that my SCART switch has barrel jack. So I have a bunch of retro access cables. So I bought one for every console that I had at the time. So I probably have 6 or 7 nice SCART cables for everything. Pretty much everything. I'm not one of those people that has one for every console that I have, but like one of each type of connector. So like one multi-out, one Nintendo multi-out, one Genesis Model 2, that kind of thing. And then I switch them out depending on what consoles I want to use. But then, I sort of noticed, and it became a kind of a meme. We'll get to the this is probably going to take more than one stream, by the way, the Retro Gem. So we'll get there. I know I'm 20 minutes into this and I haven't gotten there yet. But it became kind of a meme to crap on SCART, or to shit on SCART, I guess, and everybody called it SHART. So, and unfortunately, I feel like it was not super. It was kind of people memeing to meme, but I still believe that there was an effect by memeing SHART instead of SCART, that people didn't want it. People didn't want anything to do with it. So I feel like a lot of newer people, this probably would have been like, probably COVID, beginning of COVID, when some people, they wanted to do stuff inside. When you wanted to buy video cables, plus RetroAccess kind of slowed down their cable, how many cables they were making. But if people wanted to get nice cables, they would buy component stuff, at least in the United States, because HD Retrovision stuff was popular. So I feel like there's a lot of people that inadvertently bought component stuff instead of SCART, half because of the meme and half because it's a little bit of a better connector, kind of objectively, or subjectively, or I guess it's objectively, one of those. So I have right now my switching setup is component, but I do have basically full sets of both SCART and component. So anyways, that's an option, the Games Care thing. And I think they do actually make a SCART one as well. A little bit more money, but obviously that has more SCART stuff, takes up more space, and has a little bit more electronics. So I don't know. That's just my 2 cents. And that's kind of why I got offended. Personally, I kind of got offended with the whole SHART thing. And I don't like when people do that, just because I think it's like... Then Bob kind of got mad at me because I was trying to make that point, and trying to make that kind of a point on Twitter is an awful idea. Don't ever try to make a point on the internet. Don't try to make a point on Twitter, because it's going to turn out wrong, even if you don't mean to be negative. So I think I said something like that, or I was trying to make the point where, like, when I first started, it was only SCART. Like, SCART cables basically was the way to get RGB output to a scaler, and component wasn't as popular. Actually, does the OSSC? I think the OSSC has component input. Does it? Yeah, I think so. So like, I kind of said, people probably would tend toward component nowadays, just because it's a little bit nicer of a thing. And that I can't. I'm kind of paraphrasing, and I kind of forgot what actually happened. I blocked that part out. But I'm pretty sure that I was the person who prompted. If you remember, Bob wrote an article like, SCART is fine, like SCART isn't dead, or whatever. Just because I was talking about how component probably is better now, if you're a newer person. It's a little bit cheaper, like the cable's a little bit cheaper. I think it's just a little bit easier to manage. You have more options and switches. You could buy an Extron. There really isn't a SCART Extron. For what it's worth, I fixed a few Super G switcher, and the devices don't cut corners. Oh yeah, no, they're high quality for sure. Like I said, I have a G SCART Lite, and it's great. When I used it, it was fine. And the G Comp or the G SCART actually has there's a lot of functionality that you could do, because you can put different types of sync through it. You could do sync on green, like actually no, I don't know if this. It might have been the one after the G SCART Lite that handled sync on green. But there's all different types of sync that you can throw through SCART. So sync on green, sync on composite. So it handles all of those cases, and it will auto switch with all those different output types. So, hey, Leon. Yeah, I'm not one of those people that's like, the BOM is the price of the thing. I bet that there's a lot of engineering involved with that. There is definitely a lot of engineering involved with that thing. So I definitely, you're able to join the stream, Leon. It's not blocked anymore. I don't know what happened to that one that you couldn't join before. All right, let's actually work on this stuff. I think about it a lot, and I feel like my stream setup stuff. So if anybody has any suggestions about anything, I don't really know anyone else that streams in this way, that has this sort of setup where they have like two halves of a room that they all want to go through a single computer. I've thought about a whole bunch of things. I know like Blackmagic makes weird capture things where you can like plug in a whole bunch of HDMI inputs, and then you switch them through the Blackmagic, and that acts like a capture card. But you can like, but I don't know. Okay, so in the beginning of the Retro Gem series, I suppose, actually, this was probably YouTube was gatekeeping. Yeah, well, we're not gonna Siri, get out of here. We're not gonna we're not gonna go there. Part of the reason I stopped making YouTube videos was the Ashita, but I think the other part was the Retro Gem, because Dan sent me a Retro Gem kit for me to make a video. You know, he's fine with that. I didn't make a video about it, but that was my plan, was to make a Retro Gem video. So I chose, because I already had it. If you go back and watch my Bai streams, I bought some things from Bai, and I bought this PS2 Slim. It's this white Japanese one in a lot. There were some other things in it as well, I think, but this PS2 Slim was in it. So I'm like, okay, I have a PS2 Slim already. I don't need to buy another PlayStation 2 to put the Gem in. So why don't you send me a kit for the PS2 Slim, and I'll make a video about it. Little did I know that I firmly believe, and Leon actually kind of mentioned this on Twitter, that I think that the Slim install is a little bit more time consuming than a fat install. You actually, depending on which PS2 Slim you have to cut the case, because the HDMI port normally goes where the modem is, but if your PS2 Slim, which mine doesn't have a modem, then you have to cut a hole. But little did I know, I actually chose like the worst motherboard revision, because it's like sideways. The encoder is rotated 90 degrees from normal. And maybe that doesn't make it the worst, but it was just sort of a new install, new or different than the other types of PS2 Slims. And the true kind of killer, which we'll have to see tonight, and maybe we can look under the microscope, is I had pre-production flex cables. I didn't have the production flex cables yet. So I want to do a lot of blaming on the flex cables. However, I also didn't have a microscope yet. And if I had a microscope, I probably would have been able to do a lot better job with that install. Skill issue. Yeah, 100% skill issue. I'm not denying that whatsoever. However, I do feel like if you're going to do justice to a Retro Gem install, you need a microscope, some kind of microscope, even if it's a cheap one. I don't think that you can do it well with just your eyes. And that's coming from someone who has only done soldering. Every single solder job I'd ever done before I bought my microscope, or before like the end of last year, was done just with my naked eyes. I didn't really use the camera. It's definitely a skill issue. Okay, so slightly on topic question for the stream. I just recently installed a Retro Gem in a PS2, and I'm noticing the video cutting out in 1440p. If I set it to 1080p, then back to 1440p. So are you talking about the... it could be the TV. I don't necessarily know. Does the Retro Gem actually output 16:9 1440p, or is it the 1920 by 1440p? Because it's possible if it's outputting if it's outputting a weird resolution, whatever you're trying to view it on might hate it. It might not like it. So that's probably, it could. I'm just kind of talking about out of my butt right now, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't know if it's an install issue or not. So, still not ready to admit the real issue. You're getting old. I'm not. Well, yeah, maybe. I just. Yeah, I guess. I mean, it's only been a couple of years, but maybe. I just feel like the PS2s. Maybe it's just the fact that the lead-free solder, it just is really difficult, and just the types of chips are different. Because I've done, I did the N64 digital, I did the Ultra HDMI V2, I did a DC digital I've installed, PS2 digital I've installed. So I've installed those four separate flex cable mods. without any real problem, I guess I should say. So you don't have access to the fat versions. So you did. I did have. So later on. So in the saga, I failed with the Slim, and actually I failed kind of twice. Dan sent me a second set of those pre-production flex cables for the Slim, and I blew those ones up too. The problem is not necessarily with the encoder soldering, but it's also there's where the controller cable flex attaches to the encoder flex cable is like a weird little, like, you have to line up this thing and solder it, or at least on that version you did. So those ones, I guess I was using too much heat or something, which I tried less heat too, and it did the same thing. The flex cable vias just fell out, and so it was just disconnecting that. And so I tried like running 30 gauge or 34 gauge wire directly from the controller ports that were disconnected directly to the Retro Gem board on the other side, and that's a very tiny pin pitch on the flex cable connector on the Retro Gem. So I was like, okay, forget this. I'm just gonna buy a PS2 Fat, and you know, you can send me a PS2 Fat flex cable, and I'll do it again. So I got these PS2 Fat and the flex cables for the Gem kit, and I couldn't do that one. I didn't do that one either in the beginning. So then I kind of gave up and moved on to another project, and I was like, okay, I'll get back to this when I get back to this. But so then later on, I bought this microscope to do a different project. And the Gem install was basically nothing. I had a problem after I did it. I did it with my eyes first, and it worked. Like, the video signals worked, but I was having a problem with the controller. You can watch that stream too, and I kind of talk about it. I looked with the microscope, and I found a bridge that I couldn't see with my naked eyes. And I also now have very sharp multimeter probes to test continuity on those pins that are right next to each other. That's an amazing tool too. If you already have a multimeter, all you need is those sharp probes, and that makes you would be able to find those issues even if you were soldering with your naked eye. I mean, maybe you wouldn't be able to fix them very well because you wouldn't be able to see where the bridge was, because solder gets weird when you can bridge like behind the pins, so you can't really see it very well. But it's a bridge there, and you only really can see it if you have a microscope or if you use those things. It didn't blow up. It just the flex cables, like the wiring on the flex cables kind of like delaminates or whatever. So like it just no longer work. You can't use the flex cables anymore because they kind of fall apart. So it didn't blow up. No, I haven't tried yet, Reventlow. Just talking about the past. Haven't been there yet. If that's the case, I would expect it to not get any video. I also do have it running through an upscaler, so I wonder why it's not liking that. It's probably, depending on the upscaler, it might tell you what the input resolution is. I have a feeling, so like, well, I don't know. I'm not really the one to answer or to talk about that, but I know different, like at least for the Retro Gem 5X, it doesn't. Some monitors don't like the output of the 1440p 4x3, so the 1920 by, or whatever it is, that I think it's 1920 by 1440 or something like that. I don't know. It's the 4x3 version of 1440p. I prefer anything except for SCART. I just don't like the giant SCART connector. Yeah, and it's also kind of loose. Like, I could see where people would, like, it might fall out of the connector. So yeah. I use Kester 6337 and liquid no-king flux iron at 680. I feel like that's hot. When I switched over to using, well, actually maybe it's not. I switched from Fahrenheit to centigrade because I feel like a lot more people use that, and it's just easier to talk with people about what temperature they use. So Retro Gem install is a monster. Hardest install I've ever done. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just something about this mod that I think is hard. All right, so let's, aren't we all getting old? So anyways, later on I was able to, I did it. I did the install on the Fat, and everything is working, and that was what I did a couple streams ago. So if you want to watch that, you can watch that. But this stream, let's kind of go over to the bench, I guess, and I'll talk about the state of this install, because like I said, this was the one that I used. I was going to make a video out of this Slim, so I kind of got most, like, I would say probably half of the way through, and obviously to the part where you have to solder the flex cables, and I kind of rage quit. But I think at one point I did make sure that this console still worked. However, I noticed something that you really can't see even with the my camera. So this is the encoder over here, and thankfully this is already apart. So I think it'll be easier for me to like work on it tonight. You can't even tell here, and even if I make my camera lower, so I can make my camera a little bit lower. I looked at it with the microscope, and you can't tell that there's a bridge on those pins, but I think it's there. I saw it in the microscope. Actually, I can tell with my my pokey probes. So let me get the pokey probes out. We might have to fix. I don't know why I'm fixing this bridge. Just to, I guess, to start on. I should probably test that this console still works, but I'm not doing that. I don't think I'm gonna do that. I'm just gonna. Well, I do know that it has worked, but the after I failed the install, because I put some of the components back. Works for me. Yeah, no, all right, I know it's sort of a. I had to think about the conversion from. It might not be hot. It just might be that I've forgotten now what temperature I used to solder at in Fahrenheit, because I use Celsius. So yeah. So let's see. Put this on continuity. Now that it's oops. That's funny. Okay, so those are working. It's these first two pins here on this encoder. So that is bizarre. Oh no, maybe it's the second two pins. It's actually very difficult to tell what I'm doing. So there is a bridge there, so you can't really see it on this camera. So we're gonna switch over to basically the microscope, and we'll go from there. Let's see. What that means, I got to turn my overhead light off. Oh, I also have another newish toy, new soldering iron tip, which is kind of cool. Okay, so let's zoom in. Oh, this is kind of annoying. Actually, you know what? I'm going to back this up. Back it up. Okay. Oh, it is the second pin. So you guys can probably see that now. Sorry, I gotta focus this. Actually, I need something to put underneath my console. I need something kind of like electrical tape. Like a roll of electrical tape is what I need. Because right now it's all wobbly. Okay. Yeah, that'll work. That's good enough. Okay, yeah, so you can see if I focus, there's a solder, and the closer you look at stuff, you realize that it's nasty. Actually, now I need to focus the camera. So you guys see that there's a bridge there. So I guess let me turn my iron on. I don't even remember actually what type of solder I used. This might be leaded solder. So that's what I'm going to use. I think I'm going to use leaded solder. Let's get a little bit more light. Goodbye, bridge. Okay, so this is my normal. This is like if you've ever bought a Hakko FX888D. It's like a 1.5 millimeter, I think, chisel tip, right? So this is like, in this really close-up shot, it looks huge, but like this is a normal size chisel tip, I would say. So I was kind of getting frustrated by trying to solder like micro solder things. So I bought this, and I've never used it yet. This is a 0.6 millimeter chisel tip. So actually, let's see how well it can reflow those pins. That'd be an interesting test. And then we can move on to actually doing. Oops, actually doing this. Whoa, there's some crust on there. So this will be nice for all those tiny components and things. So anyways, 0.6 millimeter. Pretty nice. Anyway, so that's that. Yeah. All right, so I know a little bit about what happened or what the state of this is. So the Slim is sort of a little bit different than, at least this Slim is. Actually, you know what? Let's go over to the computer and I'll pull up the instructions. I have the instructions myself on the computer, but let me pull them up here and we'll talk about the game plan. Okay. Okay, so go to Slim installation. I'm not going to really do much with the mounting. I've already done this part where you put the tape on and you use the screws to put those two things together. And I've already cut this hole in the shield. There is... Okay, so this PS2 doesn't have the modem. So you have to cut this piece here. There's this like bracket that you put on the Retro Gem. Get a KU soldering tip and you'll never use anything ever again. I use a chisel tip. I was chisel tip for 12 years before I discovered the micro knife. I might have one. One that came with the my Asian soldering iron. So it might be what you're talking about. We'll have to see. And I think I've already done this as well. Cut this plastic part and cut the notch. Like you have to use this little spacer to cut a hole in the back of the case. So I don't have to do that. I've already done that. The other thing too is this gem gets installed underneath the shield. So well, actually I didn't do this part either. I didn't cut the top of the shield, or the case, I mean. I didn't flatten out this top part of the case because I didn't get that far in the install. Come on, let's get to the actual. Oh man, this is how you have to install that. So I marked the holes on the shield to mount the gem, but I didn't mount it yet. So that we should be able to do testing without doing this part. All right, so I'm gonna have to remember. So there's this main flex part where you actually have to remove. Let me just see it rotated bottom side. There's a part that I had to do. Wow, I hope it's in this documentation. I'll show you what I'm talking about. I need to find this part because it's semi-important. Oh, maybe it's not this. No, mine's a 36-2. Where is that on here? This is a 35. Maybe it's... I should have looked at. KU is a Hako code. Ah. Bottom side? Oh my gosh. You know what? I might have to look at the instructions that Dan sent me because I don't see it at all. This is a G36 or a GH36, I believe. Yeah, 036. And it's not even coming up. That's interesting. Once upon a time, Dan sent me some instructions, and I don't know if they made their way. I had to move some component, and they've already done that. Maybe I should look at the things that Dan had sent me once upon a time. I'm surprised they're not in here, because if somebody ran across this motherboard, they would struggle with installing it, because their board would not be in here. All right, let me look off to the side here if I can find his comment. Sorry guys, this is not very entertaining, but it's important. I mean, I can get started a different way, but I just want to make sure that I'm doing the right thing. Man, when's the last time I talked to Dan? Oh, here it is. And I gotta scroll way up. Getting there. Okay. That's the PS2 fat. What the heck was that? Hold on a second. Hold on, I'll be right back. Oh my god, okay. Okay, what am I looking for? Okay, so I just have a photo that I sent Dan. There's a capacitor. Let me show you on the on here. I moved this capacitor. I don't even remember. Oh, yeah. Oh, never mind, because it was originally here. Part of the instructions for installing it in this motherboard revision is to... Oh, you fucking son of a bitch. See, this is why I'm struggling with my HDMI capture stuff. It's so obnoxious. It's super annoying. How it's like, oh yeah, I'm not going to work now. Hey.
You call that a struggle?
Shut up. Now I have to go in here and I have to click this. Is this going to work now? God, why are you doing this to me? Okay, I guess my cam link is not behaving. Okay, I need to... No, she choked on something. I'm sorry, I just reacted weird. Okay, here we go. Okay, yeah, this. I think this is correct, right? So there's this there's these two pads that were here, and it was this capacitor. So I moved it from here, and I had to make a ground. I had to use a scratch pen to make a connection here. So this is fine. I don't see that anywhere in the installation instructions though, because there's no other way to install the flex cable with that huge component in the way. And so what I was actually also going to say is I put components back on here so that I can test it that you're supposed to remove that are actually on the flex cable. So that might be common with most Slims, but there's a lot of tiny surface mount parts around the edge here that need to come off because they're on, or then they get replaced with some components that are on the flex cable. So that's a side note. I just wanted to make sure that this is correct because I don't see it anywhere in the installation. So there are some components actually on the flex cable that taking them off of here, kind of, they're replaced on the flex itself. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. It's so eventually it will install. Is it this way? I'm not sure how it gets installed in this model. I'm trying to find the installation for this version. Rotated bottom side. Okay, is that what it's called? So I gotta look for that in here. Okay, so this is top side. Let's collapse that. I'm not using top side. Okay, rotated bottom side. Got it. Okay. Oh, okay. So is there a different, maybe there's a different thing because I don't see in the picture where that got moved, see? Or is it a different spot? Okay, let's read. So this is my least favorite install. Sorry, guys. I promise we're going to get there sometime. It's just that the Slim is a pain in the butt, and there's a lot more different variations, I think, than the Fat. Okay, so remove all the components in yellow. So let's follow along with the guide, and let's do that. It looks like I also have to put some Captain tape. So I've got to remove all these surface mount components here. Click the blue link. This link? Yeah, okay. I mean, it's the same. I can see where they're not there. PS4. Yeah, but I'm saying that this component is moved unless the flex cable is updated to have a capacitor on it. Oh, you've got to be shitting me. See, I love the website just doesn't keep your position when you go back. But that's fine. All right, let's do this. Let's remove these components in yellow. So let's do that under the microscope. Of course, that's messed up now. Obviously, that has to be messed up. Why would it not be messed up? I swear to God. Okay, I'm fine, guys. I'm calm. I'm cool. Collected. Technology is failing me. Okay, I think this is good now. Let's test. Yes. Okay. All right, get this cable out of here. So I need to remove all of those pieces that are marked in yellow. So this is this is what Leon said, the reverse bottom side or something. So I'm going to actually swap to my larger knife, my normal size knife edge, not knife edge. Actually, Leon, is this what you're talking about by micro knife edge? Aijun calls this a K240 or C245, which is really a T245, JBC or whatever it is. A K200. Let me see if I can show you what this looks like. So this is it's kind of big, but I mean it's a smaller knife edge tip. Is that sort of similar to what you're talking about? Oh, sorry, it's blurry. Oh gosh. Well, it's yeah, there we go. Knife edge. Yeah. So I just want to stick with my normal chisel tip because I'm familiar with that, and especially for removing these SMD components. Yeah. All right, so I'm looking at the instructions. Yeah. The T12KU. Okay, got it. Well, that's Hako stuff. I mean, I have JBC style tips on this. The rage is beginning. You guys are feeling it. Yep. Can't fool you guys. Actually, what am I doing? I brought this up on my computer. I'm just pulling it up on my laptop too, so I know what the hell I'm doing. Okay, this is under installing the main. Actually, I'm kind of skipping some steps. Actually, shouldn't I do the audio install first? Audio cable. I kind of feel like this is the more difficult install, the main flex. So, but technically, you should do the audio / controller hookup first. But I just want to make sure that I have all the components correct on this part. All right, so I got the picture pulled up. I am. Now let's take all these components off so you guys can see what I'm seeing still. Okay. So I guess I'll start with these the ones that are facing me. It looks like I take all of them off. So including these ones here. So perhaps yeah, look at that terrible resoldering job I did. I guess this must have been updated because I don't think I used to have to remove those two components. So let's start with these. Taking these ones off. Oops. It's really just heat both sides of this up. Come on, you can do it. Sometimes you have to add some more solder. Okay. So I'm kind of keeping track of those just in case I ever have to revert it. What the heck? Oh. Okay. This is kind of out of focus now. Okay. Okay. I hope I'm not doing this wrong. Or, I mean, it seems like the installation instructions have changed since I did this first. So now, according to that, I have to remove these two components. Have you done this type of install, Leon? While I'm waiting for him to answer, I'm going to do the ones around the corner here. So these two also. Oh, this is hard because it's like wants to go toward these pins and I don't want it to go toward those pins. Come on. Oh my god. Okay. Okay, we also need to clean the pads off. So where's what is this Retro Gem mod? What does it do? This Retro Gem is an internal HDMI mod and it's a universal kit. So the main mod board can be installed in a bunch of different consoles. All you need is a particular flex cable for that particular console. Does this wick kind of suck? Or do I kind of suck? You know what? Let me get my Gootwick. I feel like this is the cheapo stuff, and I need the good stuff. Break out the good stuff. Leon probably checked out. You want to compare your flex to the website image? I have a new, yeah, I should probably have fluxed it. I have the latest, whatever the latest flex is. I just purchased this flex cable recently, so in a second I'll look at it on. I'll look at that. Look at the difference. The Gootwick did. I guess those are supposed to be bridged together. Because they burned some of the pad off. Jeez. Yeah, I made a mess out of this when I was in here. But I think we're going to be okay. Now, compare the flex cables. Oh, you mean compare my old ones to the new one? I suppose we could do that. We can see what components are on it. So this is the new one, but let me get the old one. Actually, I have two. So one of the two. Actually, some of the components I removed and put on the board. So this may be inconclusive because I try to get it working again. So this is an old one. This is going to be terrible. I mean, the amount of components is not different, at least down here. Yeah, I don't really see more components on this, unless they're on the side here, maybe. No, there are also some on the side here. I don't think it looks that different in this area, at least. Just then follow the, okay. All right, I'll follow that instruction. So maybe, but that means I may have to reverse this. But I guess we'll get there when we get there. All right, so I'm just going to keep following the instructions and removing every component here. So these two, this resistor or whatever that is, I think that's a resistor, and this capacitor got to go. So bye. I think I might do, I don't know, which order do you do it, Leon? Do you follow it exactly in the instructions and do the audio first? Oh, this is brutal. What the heck? That guy doesn't want to come off. Interesting. Let's try this resistor. Ugh. Might be easier this way. Oops. Okay, that was kind of weird. That one took a while to get off. But it's off. I gotta do this other one. Okay. That's funny. Okay, bye-bye. And let's clean it. I think eventually we need to put some Kapton tape here, but we can do that later. Kapton tape. It might sound like I'm saying Captain, but it's Kapton, I guess. Okay. Cool. All right, now I gotta do the last side. There's 2 more around the corner here. These 2 here. Oops, let me gotta clean it a little bit more. Cool. And now we also clean up this side. But now I'm going to switch gears. I should do the audio flex cable first. So let me actually clean up this with IPA first, and then we'll move on. We'll move backwards a little bit. I kind of got ahead, but I've already been here in my failed attempt. So I'm just kind of figuring out things because I think the installation instructions changed since I did it. Okay, cool. All right, that's fine for now. All right, switching gears. I know this is kind of might seem a little neurotic to some of you. Sorry. The first thing we needed to do, so I'm not going to worry about actually mounting the gem board yet until the install is finished, because the gem board can come out. You could take this flex cable out of the gem board and like work on the casework, and then you can kind of work on it separately. And I'm already done like half of that, I guess. So I got to do the audio. So there's kind of multiple flex cables for the Slim. So the first thing you want to do is kind of focus in the bottom here. I'm just getting my electrical tape, and I need to refocus things. So let's go up. So the first controller port is in the bottom right corner on this bottom side here. And actually, now that I look at this looks nasty. So I didn't do a great job of cleaning this when I was done. But that's right. We know now, and we have the scope to see what things look like. So I can clean things up before we start. Oh, this doesn't look good on the... What? I don't understand. I don't know if this is getting more or less out of focus. I guess it was getting more out of focus. There we go. Sorry, I know. Oh, what the heck? Okay, there we go. Okay, there we go. All right, so the first thing we've got to do is, I'm just looking at the so this part kind of sucks if I remember correctly, because this cable was like barely long enough to do what it was asking to do. At least with the pre-production one, it was annoying. So it's possible that it's a lot better now, but we're gonna find out. So All Slim models have the same controller and audio hookups. Okay. Pay attention to which side faces up. Oh, so it's possible actually that these flex cables, the layout of this flex cable has changed. Because I remember having to do it a different way. That doesn't seem right, does it? What? There's a fold mark on the thing, but you don't fold it that way. See, you can see this. There's a white fold mark on here, but you fold it the opposite way. You fold it this way. You don't fold it that way. It's possible that that's for a different model, so I don't know. Okay, so let's solder these two first. This is kind of the first thing in the instructions. So we're gonna like do this. Let's see, how does it look for you guys on the screen? It looks fine, right? And we're gonna try to solder this flex cable. This is definitely different. Let me actually look at the original, the older one. Yeah, the older style cable had this. See, it looked a little bit different. This is the original. So the way that you had to do it was like you soldered the ends, these ends first, and then you fold it up like this. It was just a little bit different. So this install method has changed since when I've done it. Okay. So I'm not sure which of these I want to line up because they're not perfectly lined up. I guess I'll just leave it like that. Line up the bottom more. There's already some solder on here. Okay, I just want to kind of get it started. Let me get, oh, I don't have my blunt tweezers up here, unfortunately. Oh, I have blunt as in dull, as not the other form of blunt. That's funny. Well, I have my sharp ones. I don't know. Hopefully I don't make a mess. Okay, so I want to like hold this one down. Let me get some more of this. I don't think I really need to use the fancy flux for this part yet, so okay, that's fine. Okay, let's see if we can add a little bit more solder to that top one. This is leaded solder, by the way, too. All right, that's fine. I'm not going to mess with that anymore. All right, now I need to kind of fold it, and then there's... Someone say blunts? Yeah. No, blunt tipped tweezers. I guess I kind of have to like... See, that's why I'm confused. There's this white fold mark, but you really fold the opposite way? What is that for? Oh my god, and it makes it easier too because it lines it up with those other points better. So I'm actually going to line up and solder these far points before I worry about that, I think. So let's do this. Somehow I'm going to have to... I need 8 hands for this. Okay. Add some flux. Then we can move this guy. Actually, let me just count. How many over? I'm reading the screen on the other side. 1, 2, 3. So it's the first one is the third one over. So 1, 2, 3. Yep, so it starts there. Gosh, this is super hard to like hold on to that. Okay, I just need to get started. Okay. Well, don't love it. Actually, you know, this is going to seem like another tangent on top of a tangent. I have a different mod for the PS2 Slim, that internal Blue Retro mod, and that actually installs into the same area. So I'm curious of how many flex cables can we stack before it just gets insane. Probably fine. Okay. Okay. That's fine. A little extra solder didn't hurt anybody. All right, then the last one is this far one here, which is also a little annoying. Oh, did I just burn a hole in my my squeegee bottle for my? Oh, fucking scope cam broke. Really? I hate it. Thank you for telling me though. Okay. So what am I gonna do? Okay, that. Did that do anything? All right. I gotta go here. All right, so I really need to get those longer HDMI cables and just do a home run right to my computer. I think this is better. Sorry, you guys missed what I was doing in the front here. So I was talking about that Blue Retro mod because I think the flex cable for that mod installs in the same area here that this mod does. So anyways, I just soldered these 2 points here, and I'm about to do this third and last one for the front here. This one's kind of annoying to get. How am I even going to get that down here? Guess I have to do that. Okay. Oh, you son of a monkey's uncle. Okay. See, now I'm like pretty sure that that's gonna cause some compatibility issues with that other flex cable, like how it's bumped up here. I mean, this isn't harming anything in the actual console. Like, there's nothing in the way really here, but I don't think there's a better way to get this part flat. I mean, these are good, good enough joints. I don't want to mess with them because this is kind of where things started going bad the first time, because I would like lose continuity somehow between this part. So this is what I was actually losing continuity between this, and then if you follow this, it goes up to this part, and this part makes a connection to the main flex cable about here on this install. And that stuff, these via points here would just melt away, and it would just not make a connection anymore. So I'm going to leave this as is, and we can always mess with it later on if we need to. So let's keep going to the other end. Okay, the other end, if we follow it, we've got to do this end of the flex goes onto this chip here. So let me rotate. We'll find a good position to solder this side, which is kind of a Let me see what it ends up looking at the end. Kind of that sort of, okay. Just talking to myself. Okay, so you don't, eventually we will be folding it over here somewhere, but before you do that, you want to make this, you want to solder it first to these left 3. Hopefully this is, you guys maybe are having a hard time looking at it, but these left 3 points on this chip here. Okay. Maybe these have too much solder on them. Hold on a minute. Whew. Hot solder is hot, believe it or not. Okay, I'm just trying to like tack them down. Then we can add, now I'm paranoid, I'm like looking at this stream every time. So once we tack them down a little bit, we can add some fresh solder and it'll make these joints look better. So let's do this middle one. And this one. Okay. They kind of look like trash, at least at that angle, but that's fine. They're pretty big connections, so that's fine. I think that those are good. Okay, so now I know it might be hard to tell when we're super zoomed in, but now we have to like flatten this out. Like, if we straighten this, we want to like bend this here, and bend that there. Not super bent, not super flat, but just now so that everything sort of stays at 90-degree angles. Okay, so that is the audio and the controller flex. So that's relatively easy, I would say. It's kind of a pain in the butt, at least the bottom part by the controller pins. This part is kind of annoying, but you know, doable if you're just be patient. And this, I don't understand that fold part. Doesn't make any sense. All right, so now we need to gear back up to doing the main. Oh, I guess this SPDIF. Well, we don't have to do that yet. We'll just have to not forget that we need to solder another wire. I'm looking at the instructions now. We need to solder another wire near where we made this connection here later on, before we assemble it to do this for attaching to the gem board, the SPDIF, because this step actually came later on after I got my gem boards and was doing it. So I hope the scope cam doesn't freeze again when I go back. Okay, so now we jump back into what I was trying to figure out, which was which of these 3 versions we have, and Leon kind of told us that we have the rotated bottom side install. It was kind of confusing me. Because I don't immediately see a list of all the compatible motherboards, which I think it needs to be on here. It just has one. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to look and see, oh, is this board similar, I think? Right? Like it says, use the following pictures to ID your type. Just look for the orientation and location of the CMX415. I think that's the encoder IC compared to your board. So sure, I guess that's fine, but it would be, all you'd have to do is add a known list of all these types, and you'd be able to Google it and find what type you have. So you wouldn't really need to look. That's kind of nitpicky because, if you're already this deep into it, or like you can solder HDMI mods, you won't care. Like you're just gonna be able to figure it out. But just my 2 cents to make it a little easier for newbies. Okay, so we've done this. We did this part where we remove all of these yellow components around here. So, and also I do not see this, which is the component or the capacitor I was asking about with Leon. Dan mentioned that it needs to get resoldered up here, which is what I did. For the fold, they needed the real origami names for them. Yeah, I need to know if it's a mountain fold or a valley fold. No, I don't. That's a joke. Yeah. Oh, what is this red? Is this supposed to be bridged or something? I don't notice this in the instruction. Let's see. Oh, here we go. Wait. If your mobile power 3.3 and 5 volt are not the same, please send me a message, huh? Remove the components in yellow. Red is 3 volt hookup. Okay. So we need to solder a wire eventually there for 3.3 volts. Blue is the 5 volt hookup. So that is, red is here. So we need 3 volts. Does that mean you need to bridge this? Or I guess it would be bridged. Where's blue? Oh, blue is here on the other side of the, that sound chip. I think that's a sound. Oh, wait. Or is this blue? What? Oh, maybe he just marked a few places that have it. I see. So I think either this via here or up here. I think. I wish you used a different color or a different color blue, but it is what it is. All right, so now we need to put a piece of Kapton tape here. And I guess I should remove that component, that capacitor, which also gives me a chance, I suppose, to show you what I was told to do. And I'm not saying that in like a negative way. I'm just saying, like, obviously the installation instructions evolved. It's been probably about 6 months. What's your no? I have a 036. Okay, so let's go back. Hopefully my microscope camera hasn't barfed itself. Yep, it's fine. So I'm just going to remove this component here. I was told, because this component was originally here, but there was instructions to move it to that. So maybe that's no longer the case, where you don't need that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use some solder braid. I do need to add some flux to this thing. I'll just add it to the board instead. I think that'd be fine. I hope I can get it off. Interesting. How am I going to do that? Okay, I kind of lifted one side. Oh my god, this is so annoying to have to hold like 8 things at once. Let me just rotate this. What am I doing? I'm an idiot. Okay, so I think I've already lifted this left side here. Oh, maybe not enough to... I don't really want to damage this component. But, yeah. Oops, sorry, now you guys can even see it. What the heck I'm doing. I don't have hot tweezers, but this makes me reconsider that decision. Huh. Welp. How the hell am I going to get that off? Hot air. I guess. There aren't really any other components here. I guess I'll do that. Ooh, I have my nice hot air gun holder thing. Okay, so I'm going to set it like 50% air, 350. I'm not really concerned. Well, hopefully I don't blow up this. Let me, you know, I got to do something first. I got to get some. I'm going to actually use my other flux for this. If I had hot tweezers, I could just take that off in a millisecond, but. Just flood both traces. I guess I could do that, yeah. Go back to braid. I do have hot air, yeah. I guess I gotta flood it too, yeah. What? It just turned off. Oh, because I pressed the button. I don't use my hot air gun enough. Okay. Whew. All right, so now let me clean those pads off, and I'll show you what that was going. That component was bridging. Sorry, I just launched that capacitor across the room. Okay, let's clean this off. I do have that flex cable. I think it was right. I don't think I damaged anything. Okay, so I had to. There's these two vias. This is what Dan showed me in a picture. Let me make sure that I have a okay. This light is a little bright. Okay. So there's these two vias here, and then Dan said to use a scratch pen to make a ground connection over here. So I just bridged those together for that capacitor. But I don't see that in the instructions anymore, so I'm going to assume that it's changed. You could use your test leads to see if they match the old pads. I don't know what you mean by that. If they match the old pads. Oh, you're saying if this connection is the same as that, you mean? Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Just for testing, just for demonstration. Because then that means that one of these would make continuity with, yep. And this is ground. Okay, yeah, neat. So, essentially you're saying that it moves the capacitor, but it's still on the same bus, or the same net. Got it. Okay. So I don't know. I can always put it back. I hope I didn't ruin that. I mean, it doesn't look. Hopefully, it doesn't look physically damaged, or it doesn't look physically damaged. But you know, anytime you rework something, there's a chance that you stress it, and yeah. But we could always look to that in the future. It doesn't say anything about re-adding it though in the instructions, at least not yet. All right. So now let's look at the next part. Oh, I'd have to add the captain tape now, right? So I'm going to rotate this. And I'm going to focus again here. Maybe I'm going to clean it a little better again. And actually, I might think about putting some here because I don't know what happened to the... I do know what happened. I blasted it with too much heat. So I took the solder mask off the board there. So that may not be good for installing that flex cable. Although I don't even know, does it even go to that side? I guess it should, it would, right? Because of the, we removed those components, so. I'm just going to clean this part pretty well. And actually, while I'm here, I might as well clean that old part, this part here. Okay, cool. All right, neat. Clean the spot I just removed the cap from. Yep. All right, let's add that piece of Captain tape. We're going to put one here, and I think I'm going to put one there. I just want to make sure that I clean that a little better, maybe. It doesn't really matter because as soon as you start soldering, especially if you use Amtech flux, it just gets everywhere under the Captain tape and stuff. But you know, you want to give yourself a good, as much advantage as possible to soldering. So let me get my small Captain tape out, and I gotta find my small little tweezers or scissors. This size should be okay. Here's my little scissors. I got so much crap in this tools box. Okay. So let's get a piece of tape. Actually, this Captain tape is probably too wide, huh? It's handy to buy a variety pack of Captain tape sizes instead of just one. I mean, it's, you know, Captain tape lasts a pretty long time when you buy it because it's just you don't really use it that often. Wow. Okay, so this is too small. Do I have a medium? Wow, that's funny. I was just about to say get a variety pack and it'll have the size that you need, but okay, this seems fine. Okay. Come on, Captain tape. Get off your thing. Okay. Are we good still with the camera? Okay. All right, so take a piece. And basically you want to cover up all those components, the pads of those things that we just did. And I put a little extra so I can cut it short. Okay. So now that kind of helps you a little bit when you put the flex back on here so that you don't bridge the underside of the flex pins with any of those pads that we just, any of those component pads that we just removed. So I'm going to do a little bit, I'm going to do the same thing up there. Another little piece. So let's go like that. No, get out of here. come on. Okay, cool. I don't know if this is going to interfere with anything down here, but I think we're fine. Okay, neat. All right, now what? Drop my captain tape. Scrolling, scroll. Install the intermediate flex on the control. Oh, huh? That's interesting. Wait a minute. Huh, this is different since, that is interesting. So this is redesigned. This part is redesigned. Let me show you what I'm talking about. Where's the new cable? Oh, I guess it's not necessarily redesigned, but it's different than how I originally did it. So inside of the flex cable bag is a third flex cable called the intermediate flex. So this didn't exist, I don't think, when I was originally doing it. So we've got to install this somehow first. So let's go up. Okay, so it kind of looks like a cactus in that way. So we've got it. Basically, we're going to install this second little thing onto the top of that, or I guess under. Is it under? I guess it's under, right? Yeah. So let's do that. Okay. How might I do this? So let's do this. Let's get some solder. What is on my soldering tip here? Oh, okay. Well, hold on a minute. Having technical difficulties. Okay. So you want to line all the holes up. Which is already kind of difficult. Okay. Okay. Now let me get the opposite side here. And then we could do the rest. Okay, so like this. Okay, I think that's fine. So now we should be able to add some solder. I guess I'm just going to have to do it the same way. I can't really do, I was going to say that I might be able to do like this, but may not make a great connection, you know. Let me get some solder off of here. Okay. And then this last one. Okay, now I can go back and kind of clean up that gross one. And that one looks kind of nasty too. Okay. Some of these have way too much solder, but that should be all right. So I think what I'd like to do now is actually test for continuity through this onto the so this on the other end of this little cactus is our other pads. I just want to make sure that we're still making continuity on that end. I don't know if it's highly recommended to use lead-free. Oh, this is for the next part, I think. Install the main flex and hook up the intermediate flex. Pay attention to the 5-volt hookups. Plan to wire the 5-volt pin to pin 13. Cut off the support pad on the intermediate flex. Huh? Oh, interesting. Sorry, I'm just looking ahead here. Is that what we're talking about here? So it says you can use this pad for what? 5 volts? Blue is 5 volt, pin 13. Oh yeah, it does explain it. If you actually RTFM it, I was curious about why there was another blue. It's pin 7 on the audio IC. So yeah. So do I want to worry about that yet? There's a little part. There's a little support part. I don't see that at all on this. Right? What does that mean? Maybe that's gone. This is not what it's talking about yet. Oh, never mind. I see. That lines up with the main flex. I see. So this and this line up with that pad here, but then on the bottom you have to remove this, I think, if you're going to use this part to solder directly to, or one of those parts. I think it might be, yeah. So like it ends up being installed like this, and you can use this side to solder directly to that pin, which I probably will do. In that case, you want to remove that matching piece from this part later on. Well, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll wait to test continuity for the entire thing, because otherwise we're going to have to do it twice. I don't know. I'm not sure. Maybe we should just move on and try to solder the main flex. All right. Scrolling back up. Where does it say to actually use to solder the main flex? This part, yep. Install the intermediate controller flex. Solder. Okay, so it's talking about using lead-free solder. I think I've already mixed the pins on this, but I think we'll find out pretty quickly. After installing many kits, I usually prefer to just use lead-free. I guess I have lead-free. I could use it. Install the main flex and hook up the intermediate flex. Okay. Pay attention to the 5-volt and 3-volt hookups. Okay, gotcha. So this little part explains what I was just talking about with those hookups. So the first thing I have got to do is I got to hook up that main flex. So I don't know. I guess I should use lead-free since I have it. I don't know. I guess I can. I didn't use any lead-free up until now. Okay, let's get this in position. Put my electrical tape down. Does it look okay on the stream here? I got a glare, a little bit of a glare, of course. Oops, almost knocked my computer over. Well, that's annoying. Can I zoom in? Maybe it'll get rid of that. This part I kind of don't mind being zoomed in. Okay, how does that look on this stream? Okay, that looks a little better. Move it up a little bit. It does kind of look like there's a bridge there, but it could just be paper towel lint. This is out of focus now. Okay, gotcha. All right, let's tack it down on this spot here. So let me get my Amtech. I'm gonna keep using my chisel tip just because I'm kind of familiar with it. We're going to start on this side. Okay. Well, I'm going to start on that side. Actually, before I do anything, where do these sides start? I don't think this right side, so it looks like this left, let me just look at the instructions first before I explain this, what I'm doing. I'm also going to move up a bit. Sorry, I'm like trying to manage multiple things at once. Okay, that's better. Let's look at the... Okay, so on this picture, pin 1 on this top edge, or this right edge, I guess, the way mine's oriented, it is there, but I don't think I have that first pin. Oh, I do. I have 3. Okay, so apparently this top edge is supposed to be lined up with the first pin, which is good. I mean, I don't like having to count a number of pins over. And then same for this side. It looks like the first pin is there. So that will help us to gauge how far in we've got to go here, this way, if that makes sense. See, I almost feel like doing the main flex first is probably better because the other wires get in the way of this part. Okay, so this is good. Let's just try to tack it down. I'm not adding anything yet, any solder. I'm just checking all 3 ends to make sure they line up. Okay, so now that we have a little bit here, so let's rotate and get this part final and good. Sorry if it's not really showing up well on the camera. I might have to add a little bit of solder to this part. Let's see, where's my flux? Okay, I've got a little bit of solder on my iron. Let's get my tweezers. Doesn't have to be super perfect right now, just as long as the pins line up. And it looks like they're going to line up all the way down there even. Okay, cool. Okay, now let's do the opposite side. Okay, let's add some flux. Yeah, this side just doesn't like itself. Okay, that's fine. We're gonna have to add some more solder on this side, but at least I think the pins are gonna line up for the most part. So let's go back to the front, and we'll finish that off. We'll get some more solder, make things look better. I have a feeling that maybe my iron is not hot enough. I'm gonna go to 380. See? Okay. And we only got a couple more minutes, so I'm just gonna do a good attempt at soldering this stuff, and then next stream we'll have to continue. Ugh, is there a giant gross hair in this? Okay. Also, you have to keep in mind that there are components on this flex cable here. Oh, did this freeze? God. Wow. Good thing I caught it now. Annoying. There. Okay. All right. Back in the front here. I was going to say that there are components on the flex here. These small SMD capacitors and things. You got to be careful not to launch those off. I think I may need even. I just this part I don't think is really that hard. I guess it's just I don't know. All right, we're gonna clean up the bridges. This is kind of drag soldering, kind of not really. Okay, so I have extra there. I need to cut some of this junk off the end of my solder braid. Here is this thing. Okay. Right. Okay. So that's kind of annoying because those looked good until I just did that. At least the joints, I mean. Didn't freeze again, did it? Okay. Okay. I think these look fine. I think I'd like to clean them up and clean them up after I do all of them, and touch them up if I have to. So yeah, that looks fine. I mean, that's lead free solder. It came out okay. All right, now let's do the harder side, which I think is this one, just because I say that because the crap is in the way, the audio cable. Let's add some more solder or flux. This part's annoying because I can't really balance the board on the. I guess I can still. On that tape I was using, tape roll, because it's off the board. How does this look? Does this look terrible on the camera? It's kind of crooked, huh? Oh, too much. Okay, that looks fine. Now I just got to focus it. Okay. All right. I think I want to add a little bit of solder. Oh, there's no pin there. Okay. Okay, now I have way too much solder and not enough flux. So let's clean the solder first. Okay. And then a little more flux. For this side, actually I want to try my new 0.6 millimeter chisel tip. I'm curious. It's essentially half of the width of my normal chisel tip. But this will be good for like individual pins, I hope. Oh no. Oh. You guys see that? What? That's crazy. That pad there is like falling off. Jeez. Huh. All right. I needed my tweezers. All right, back to too much solder again. I don't love this iron for this, or this tip. So I'm going back to my normal knife edge. Sheesh, I don't know what I'm going to have to do with that. Okay, well. Are these pins supposed to be bridged? Oh, God. Look, that one's totally bonked. That's annoying. How do I fix that now? All right, let's not rage. I might just leave it here, and we might revisit that next time. But let's clean it. Let's clean it up. Actually, we'll clean all of them up, all 3 sides up. And it fucking froze again. Oh, this is super. I just want to rage. I just want to punch my computer, which will do nothing. But okay. So here you are. I lost that pad, that second to leftmost pad. I don't know what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna have to maybe use some 34 gauge and try to make a bridge. Try to bridge it. Wow. Yeah, that sucks. I didn't even think I was being that rough with these pads. It's just there's a hole in the middle of it. Right? I'm super duper tempted to try to clean this up right now, but sheesh. Yeah, that sucks. All right, let's clean up the front. Then I'm calling it quits for tonight. You guys can see how this is like kind of insane, right? Like no offense to Dan, but yeah, this is not simple. I don't think, unless you get lucky. I guess like, you probably can get lucky and things are fine. But this front side is fine. So I was super optimistic after doing this front side that the rest of it was going to be fine. And then, then I ran into that one that fell apart. Ugh. Then there's this other. See, I don't understand. Why are there holes? Why put holes here? In the cable. Can you guys see what I'm talking about? These have holes in them. They're like castellated and there's a hole. Castellations is fine because you want them to get as close to the pin as possible, but there's a hole in the center of a pad. I don't know. Maybe I'm just not good enough, guys. Anyway, so I'm gonna leave it there for tonight. I guess next steps. So hopefully we can address that issue, that missing pad somehow. Like it's not the end of the world. I think I should be able to. Oops, I'm trying to zoom out. I think I should be able to, if I'm super careful, use some like 34 gauge Kynar wire and bridge that gap. I should be able to do that. I mean, worst case scenario is what? Follow it. So I can solder a wire to the pin of the IC, so that pin, and then if we follow that trace, it ends up on the right side of this capacitor here. So worst case scenario is I run a wire from here to that capacitor, and that's fine. So not the end of the world. Just kind of frustrating. Hopefully you guys did it for. I hope you can see all I was doing. Yeah, I think you can. So it go here, just in case you missed it, or maybe I was holding it wrong. It does go from that. I could just run a wire from that pin to the bottom of this capacitor here. So that's likely what I might have to do if that pad is just gone. I just want to float into space. Rough, guys. It's rough. It's not super hard. It's just, I just don't know I don't know how much, like, how would you make these flex cables better, or what could I have done? I guess was, first of all, maybe my soldering iron is too hot. Maybe I should just stuck with lead-free or leaded solder. Probably was the right answer. Worst case scenario is I wait another, week or whatever for new flex cables. But yeah, I don't know. We've all been there. Well, I've been there 3 times already now, Belmont. This is where I get to every time. Not this same exact issue. The issue I kept having was where I soldered those two things together, kind of overlapping. The connections would break on one of those flex cable parts or the other, and then those are long. Like you have to run a wire right from the controller, kind of all the way to the gem board. It'd be like that. Yeah, yeah. All right. I like that there are different instructions, better updated instructions. That capacitor that I had to move, I didn't have to move, so that was kind of a little bit annoying the first time. I mean, not annoying, but it's just another step I had to do that I don't think you have to do anymore, moving that capacitor. So it's sort of interesting. Anyways, all right, next time we'll clean up that thing, try to make the other connections better, those other flex cable connections better, and then we still have to, this kind of a lot of work still. Leon was right. He might have nailed it. How many streams? Probably 3. We have to, even if the flex cable is fine and we test it and everything is correctly, or the gem boots and get all the hearts, we still have to do more case cutting, drill holes. I might do that offline just because I don't want to have like a drill is kind of loud at night. But I've got to drill some holes to mount the gem board itself to the shield. So I might do that offline and kind of just show you after the fact what I did. And then reassembling stuff, which I'm also a little bit dreading because this console has been disassembled since 6 months ago. So, all right. Thanks everybody. I appreciate. I need to figure out my camera thing because it drives me absolutely bonkers, and I might just have to buy some longer cables and run the capture cards directly to my computer. It seems to be stable. Like the RetroTink 4K stream, which is a one long cable directly to the Live Gamer 4K, that one almost never messes up. It's the ones that are connected over here to this stupid USB hub that don't work. So next time, 100%. I'm hoping at least next stream we'll be able to get to the point where I can power on and test the gem with the OSD and stuff. So that'll be a win, I think, if we get there. Maybe a test stream before you switch it up. Maybe test as in like use it. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I don't know. Got a bunch of stuff afterwards that we can do. So, all right. Thanks everybody. I appreciate everybody. And hopefully these aren't boring. I hope they're not like a bunch of nothing. Like I hope this mod particularly is sort of a struggle. So it's like I need to take my time and sort of not be in the comments. But yeah. All right. Thanks everybody. I'll see you on Wednesday. I forgot what day it was. See you on Wednesday, and we'll try and finish this up. So.